Hello and welcome to Whiskey Resource. My name is Mark. This is review 160. This is the 18th in my 18-year-old blind dram whiskey showdown. Up there is a bottle of 5-year-old Glen, which was recommended to me by Sid Finch. I finally managed to get a bottle and I've had a dram. It's interesting. It's a blended malt whiskey, which is a blend of whiskies from Highland, Islay, Campbelltown and the Lowlands, 4 regions. Okay, so on to today's dram. Pull this one out. And it's my daughter's 18th birthday today, which is a nice coincidence, given I'm doing 18-year-old blind drams, as if that was kind of arranged. Okay, so this one is one that I filled myself, so instantly I have a feeling I know what this is, judging by that cap, because I've only got one left that I have filled myself. So that would be the Gel Ord. So instantly I'm saying this is Gel Ord, since it's the last one that I've filled. There are still left in the box, a few more. There's a couple of 18-year-olds extras that I bought from Moss as a malt, and there are 2 non-18-year-olds in there to throw us off, as well as the extra Glen Scotia that I bought. So the last video was the Year 18th, which I put into 6th place, and a decent dram that was too, with its red wine finish. But what's this one? Well, Gel Ord, I think, on the nose. So it's orchard fruits, apple and pears, kind of a golden delicious meets a Granny Smith, with some pear, malty, ex-bourbon and ex-sherry maturations going on here. It's dominated mainly by those orchard fruits. There's a bit of oak, there's maltiness, there's not really much sign of spice, and there is a bit of floral. It's not massively expressive, it's not massively complex on the palate. 40% ABV. It's orchard fruits, apples and pears, sweet, creamy, there's enough oil. Texture's probably more on the water than the oil, but it's got a creaminess to it. It's got a very gentle oak, which leads to a well-controlled spice, which is more of maybe a nutmeg, a nice warming spice, bit of maybe a black pepper, but that's quite minimal. It's really tasty. This doesn't drink like it's an 18-year-old. The bitterness, touch of coffee, caramel, dark chocolate. There's caramel there, there's honey. It's really pleasant. Not the most complex. I think that 40% ABV has done a bit of disservice. I think if this was a 46% at least, even a 43, it would offer a lot more. But it's really quite enjoyable, easy sipping, very much so. If this is the Gel Ord, and I suspect it is, then this is designed for the East Asian market, Indonesia, Japan, Malaysia, that kind of place. Very tasty, but it needs to open up. So yeah, in terms of would I buy a bottle, well, it's Gel Ord. I visited the distillery in November. I picked up a bottle. I got a small discount. I think it was 10% off a bottle because I did the distillery tour. I think the distillery tour was £6. We did a tasting of the 15-year-old and a special that I don't know if I can't remember if it was a special limited edition non-aged limited release, which was tasty, but I preferred the 15. That was the 2 drams. It's retailed, I think it was about 80 80 something pound, but I got 10% off. I think I paid 73 for it in the end, and very tasty. I think it's slightly overpriced for what it offers, being a Diageo bottle, if I'm right, because I'm almost certain I am. That's why I'm just saying these things. I wouldn't buy a bottle now I've tasted it, even though it is really nice. I think it is overpriced compared to the leaders. It needs to be higher ABV, but it is a very nice dram. Bottom of the water, we'll see what we get. The nose, well, that's lifted the orchard forward, vanilla nose, and I'm getting spice now, as well as those orchard fruits, which are and maybe touch of oak is coming through now. I think this has suffered a bit by the ABV, but on the palate, that honey sweetness is lifted. It continues right way through to the finish, which becomes a little oakier, a little bitter, more bitter, spicier definitely, and that continues right into the finish, which fades off quite quickly. Probably not even a medium finish. It's just the bitterness that lingers. The fruits are still there, the same apples and pears. Maybe ginger's been introduced now. Where would I place this on the table? Well, the Jura I put in 6th place between the Glendronach and the Lismore. I think this probably sits below the Lismore, so that would be 8th place. It's tasty. It's easy drinking. It's not that complex. It doesn't. 8's probably a little bit too generous, to be honest. The table, 8th would be Balblair, 9th is Dalmore, 10th is Bamore. So looking at the table, I'd say Glenfiddich is probably slightly better than this. So Glenfiddich slightly better than this, which is in 14th place. So I think we'll put this into 15th, just above the Kalila 18. So yeah, it finishes 4th bottom, but it's still a very nice dram. As I mentioned before, on all these 18-year-olds, there isn't any particularly bad one amongst them. Even the Glen Scotia, which is now in 18th place, is still a tasty whiskey. It's just disappointing compared to what I would expect for a Glen Scotia whiskey. But that's it, laters. I'm done. Dusted. That was the last of the 18s of my standard collection. So now we've only got in there the extras.